There are major changes being made to a WWE Championship, plus WWE may be about to finally cancel 205 Live. Plus a Raw star made a surprise NXT appearance last night. It's all in the wrestling news right now. So the Cruiserweight Championship, we talked about this.
Can we just, no, you said finally about to cancel like you want it to happen. Get out. How dare you?
I could turn it around.
No.
But there's more than I can do.
Crack on, first story.
This is war. This is war. We'll get to that. You can spit your vitriol in my general direction then. So the Cruiserweight Championship. So we talked about this last week. There was talk that Joe Gacy would pick up the title at War Games. That didn't happen. And Roderick Strong's still the champion. But Malcolm Bivens on NXT last night reveals that the Cruiserweight weight limit has been lifted.
What's the point of it?
Now,
you don't do weight limits for anything else. You bring in the Cruiserweights, you make them only wrestle each other, you go, you need to be 205 or lighter, and then you just do away with it. What's the point?
The problem is the wording on this is quite ambiguous, because he said the Cruiserweight Championship weight limit has been lifted, which either means it's gone or it's higher. But he wasn't quite clear. So everyone's gone, what? But then throughout the night, the whole conversation, I mean, it was revealed whilst in a segment with Bron Breakker, in which they revealed that Roderick Strong is facing Bron Breakker next week. And then later on in the night, Malcolm Bivens talking about how now the Cruiserweight Championship weight limit's been lifted. This is the #1 title in the company, to which Carmelo Hayes took Dolores umbrage with it, who's the North American champion. So it's a weird decision to have a Cruiserweight Championship that seemingly now is not just for cruiserweights.
It's a drop ball all round. Like, it was a weird decision to bring cruiserweights back and have them only face each other. And it was weird the entire thing, when you started off with the Cruiserweight Classic, it was like, this is great. And now we're here.
Yeah.
And
WWE have always had this really weird relationship with a cruiserweight / light heavyweight division. Like, they kind of blow very hot and cold on it. They kind of build to the prospect of it, and they kind of give it a little bit of mileage, and then they just get bored. And I think they're about to get bored with the Cruiserweight Championship.
They've been bored with it for a long time. That's why it is where it is.
It's true. It's true.
It's just shoved off under a rug. That's what they're doing with it.
I thought moving it to the NXT brand gave it a little bit of a
fresh burst of life.
Leo Rush, Angel Garza had some belts.
When you're in the middle of restructuring your entire developmental system, it's not something I feel you're going to be focusing too heavily on.
So also last night, Joe Gacy, who challenged for the Cruiserweight Championship at War Games but was unsuccessful, is turning his ire to 205 Live. Upset at the show that promotes exclusivity, saying that he has plans to change things. So this could finally signal the end of 205 Live.
Or he loses again and it doesn't happen.
Right, but then if you're going to lose the Cruiserweight division, you don't need a show called 205 Live.
Unless it becomes 305 Live. Nothing would surprise me at this point, but it's getting so drawn out that it's like, look, if you want to do away with 205 Live, you need to unify that Cruiserweight belt with something or change it altogether and just move on. Because it's just a shame. It's just a shame. But at the same time, when you've got 205 Live and competitors in that weight class, and then you have competitors that aren't on 205 Live who are also in the weight class who are just, it feels like they're just being kind of fenced off.
Yeah.
Like we don't really want you for anything else. We just need you for this time filler.
I think the show's almost been ready to be cancelled almost like months after it debuted.
Yeah,
which is such a shame.
Christ, shooting it after episodes of Raw or SmackDown, and crowds are just leaving. Nobody cared, and there was some great stuff. And I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. But if it's not working, there's no point spending all the money on it. If it's not being engaged with, you can be investing that money elsewhere and getting more out of it. So if they are going to change 205 Live or just do away with it and change the Cruiserweight title into something else, it'd be interesting. But other than an open weight belt, I don't know what else they could make it into. But then you don't need an open weight belt
all belts are open weight anyway.
Because the only weight class you had was 205 Live. And you just did away with that over the previous 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. And then, there is an argument to be made that there's something about turning the Cruiserweight Championship into like a sort of X Division style, no weight limit, no limit. But then the X Division title serves as Impact Wrestling's secondary belt.
Yeah.
You've already got secondary belts in WWE. So I'm not quite sure what they want to do with it.
I think it'll get maybe turned into a bit of a vanity title, and then it'll be absorbed into something else, maybe into the North American title.
Like the Diamond.
And then you go back down to, a main belt and a secondary belt.
Yeah, I think so. It's a strange kind of. It feels like it's not with a bang but a whimper. We're losing the Cruiserweight Championship and
tale of 205 Live.
Many stories will be told of 205 Live in years to come. At least 3. MLW flavoured news today. So they've been doing this. They've been teasing this stuff with sort of a merger with Lucha Underground. Kind of.
It's their own thing. So they're doing Azteca Underground.
They are indeed.
Yes.
Yes. So this was announced by matchmaker for MLW, Cesar Duran, who has been kind of the head of Azteca Underground, not Lucha Underground. Azteca Underground.
Because Lucha Underground, they you're on a 4-year deal. You're not wrestling elsewhere. We might not do a fourth year though. So, that was infuriating too.
Press release from MLW says Major League Wrestling will enter the masked world of Mexican Lucha Libre as it presents MLW Azteca, a standalone mini-series premiering Thursday, January the 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern, featuring the grandest luchadors of Mexico clashing with the Major League Wrestling's best of the best. Matchmaker Cesar Duran presides over the action from sold-out arenas in Mexico to underground fight clubs. I'm very, very up for this.
There is a big gap in the market for something like this, I feel, because Lucha Underground initially had such a buzz around it. It was so exciting, it was so different, and it wasn't overly tacky in a bad way. It was like tacky in all the best ways. Mm-hmm. And it was just the right level of hokey. But it was super exciting and super interesting and full of twists and turns. So if they can just recapture some of that lightning, I think we're going to have a great time.
I'm just thinking about Lucha Underground now. It was all in the temple. You had to collect those 3 coins to get a title shot.
Yeah.
Like Caesar had a little shed next to the ring where he did all the managing. And he just poked his head out the door and go, rematch now! And I'm like, this is great! They had the all-night long match.
Didn't he get murdered by Brian Cage with a big electric fist?
Did. Yeah. He did.
And then he came back in as his own twin brother?
He did. Lord, wrestling's brilliant when it's nonsense. Oh my God, wrestling's great when it's nonsense. Former indie star is set for PWG's Battle of Los Angeles, a little bit more serious in the bowler, as Alex Shelley has been announced for the tournament in 2022.
Nice.
He joins Jonah for the show set for January 29th to January 30th. Big fan of the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's always an exciting time, always a very exciting tournament, and
some very good stuff in there. So good to see Alex Shelley doing his thing for Battle of Los Angeles for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Fine, Alamar, let's go back to NXT from last night. A very noteworthy episode of NXT last night. Lots of stuff happening, lots of hellos, lots of goodbyes. Here's a hello from Sam Driver.
Yeah, so we mentioned it a little bit earlier about, maybe NXT 2.0 will feature some of the older faces and some kind of, like veterans, I guess, of the NXT brand. But the weeks-long build has come to an end. So it's all kind of just reached the point where the person behind the door was revealed, and it turned out to be none other than Riddle.
So Riddle is the shaman, bro, for MSK. They've been hunting this guy down. We had a nice little promo before War Games with MSK going, you! And it turned out to be Riddle, the man behind it all. They have a nice cross-legged sat down chat around candles, saying like, should they be more serious? And Riddle's like, just go with the flow and you'll get back what you want. And they ask if Riddle will be by their side throughout their run back. And Riddle says, I'll be here as long as you open the bag that you brought with you. We don't know what was in the bag.
Yeah, we do. It's like 4 ounces of just primo kush.
It's funny because he's stoned. That's the joke there. Well, I like. Do you know what? Riddle was another name that was floating around that was possibly going to be revealed as the shaman. As the shaman, is the toilet paper.
Yes, not shaman.
That's the strongest soaker-upper. There was one of the names floating around. I'm livid, quite frankly, because Trey Miguel told me it was going to be Tony Atlas. Trey!
Could you imagine if it was Tony Atlas?
You! It'd be brilliant. Make that a thing. Incidentally, if you want to hear where Trey Miguel definitely told me it was Tony Atlas and it wasn't just a bit that we did, he's on Desert Island Graps tonight on the podcast feed. Me and the reigning X Division champion Trey Miguel have a lovely chat about him getting into wrestling, his friendship with the Rascals as they were, and obviously the stuff he's doing now. We talk about his class entrance at Bound for Glory with the spray paint, and of course he picks 3 wrestling matches that he would watch while stranded on a desert island. He's lovely, is Trey.
Yeah.
We have a nice chat about all sorts. He's a big Spider-Man fan.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
He's currently watching all the Spider-Man films to get ready for the brand release. I think he's hoping to the new.
By
one,
all
maybe.
of them, you just need to say the Raimi trilogy and don't bother with any of them, including the new ones. Just the Raimi trilogy. That's
Is that your ultimate one, the Raimi trilogy?
No, the Raimi trilogy. There are no other Spider-Man films.
All the others are lies.
In fairness, the newest ones have been really good, the animated one especially, but no, the Raimi trilogy. I mean, come on. Emo Spider-Man doing a dance. What more do you want?
Trey.
Willem Dafoe, massive schlong.
Don't remember that villain. I think I remember that. More news this weekend throughout the day at Cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Massive schlong.